That's not making any noise.
I don't want this to make noise.
Oh, that's easy.
No, that's this one, right?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Brenda.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll gavel this meeting to order.
Do you see any fingerprints?
Thank you all for coming. For the record, we are just out of executive session. We went in at 6:05, and topic was litigation under RCW 4230.110, subparagraph L, tag I. If you would all rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
I've got
Well, all councilors present.
New and old?
Oh, he's used.
New and old, yes. So we have a quite large, wow, that is large.
It's huge.
Consent calendar, yeah.
The consent calendar.
About 180 pages.
You all know the drill. If there's something that you want pulled or want to talk about, let me know now, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to approve items A through P.
Let me run to the beginning.
So moved.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we adopt consent calendar items A through P.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Lemley and a second by
Give it to her.
Councilman Kinzer to approve the consent calendar A through P. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to first congratulate Silas over there. Way to go. Join our planning commission. I also need to recuse myself from segment D, the library board appointments.
Okay, noted. And we'll get to that, I think. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing none, the consent calendar is approved. We're now coming to a public comment period. So I will read the script here. Consistent with Resolution 546, anyone is invited to comment during the public comments. However, speakers may not comment on matters which are scheduled for a public hearing or quasi-judicial matter. We do have one public hearing tonight, and that's on the agenda. So there won't be any public comment on that. Council will receive comment on other issues where the matter is otherwise on the agenda for the same meeting or not. You're limited to 3 minutes apiece. And if you come up to the podium to speak, please state your name and address clearly for the record. Okay. So at this time, public comment is open. Any takers? Seeing none, at this time I will close the public comment period. Okay, now we will come to the public hearing, and that is on the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. It's a first reading. So who has this one? Is that you, Mark?
You want this, Mark? Yeah, it's you. It's
on page 205 if you're looking for it.
Thank you, Mayor. Trying to figure out the technology over here and not doing it.
Okay, and if anyone has packets or has downloaded them, that's on page 205 of your packet.
So what this item is just updating the TIP entry for the Jameson Arterial Extension Project from pending funding to funded in light of the just recently approved and the consent calendar agreement from TIB to fund the construction phase for that project. So this is just basically a paperwork thing that will allow us to show on our 6-year plan that the project is fully funded, and it allows us to obligate the federal funds to go to construction, which I'll work on tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you. So at 7:07, I'll open the public comment period. Consistent with resolution, the public hearing. Limit your testimony to the issue at hand. I'll be calling names in order. I have not seen a list. Were there any? And alternating those who are for or against the issue, although sometimes we don't know. This is your opportunity to provide testimony on the record. It's not a time to debate, engage in colloquially, or to question individual members of the council. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes per person and just one time at the microphone.
Nobody on the list tonight.
Well, nobody's on the list, but if anybody has changed their mind and would like to speak, you can approach the podium now.
George has some comments.
I love you all.
And we feel that love, George. Thank you. We had someone just come in. Are you perchance here for public comment?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Here from the paper.
Okay, no one coming forward. I will now close the public hearing at 7:08, and there was no action required. Okay, what's next? I, too, am having difficulties with the technology. So.
Oh.
Nothing under unfinished business. New business, item 6, the Transportation Benefit District Annual Report for 2015. That's on page 208. Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. With our Transportation Benefit District, one of the requirements per RCW is that we publish an annual report of activities within the TBD. The annual report covers things like the amount of funds that have been collected, how we propose to spend them. I've got a report. The spreadsheet in the back of the report shows the projects that are qualified from our Transportation Improvement Program for use of Transportation Benefit District funds. You'll notice on that the right-hand column shows proposed amounts from the TBD for 4 projects, one of which is the just mentioned Jamison Arterial Project, also the Cascade Trail Phases 1A and B, Ferry Street Overlay, and the Fruitdale Road Arterial Improvements Project, which will be which you approved on the consent calendar to the design phase to start for that. So that's what this report is about. We took in $57,214 through the end of 2015 in TBD funds that came from the $20 vehicle tab fee. We're anticipating in 2016 that for a full year, it'll generate $173,400. As you may recall, the TBD didn't start collections until July of last year as the reason for the smaller amount for 2015. TBD is eligible for use on projects that are identified on our TIP, and that is the type of projects that I've spelled out on the table attached there. So this is your opportunity to see the report, and we do need a motion to approve issuance of the TBD annual report for 2015 as required by RCW 3673-160.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the council?
Mark, with the Jamison Arterial project, does that also include the pedestrian corridor along the high school route?
It includes a shared use path for the entire length of Jamison from 3rd Street to across the Rhodes Road. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we one of the things in Tibbs Award, we had applied for a separate sidewalk grant, as I think I had mentioned, to complete the piece from the tennis courts east to 3rd Street. TIB elected to, instead of awarding a separate grant, they rolled that into the main urban arterial program grant. So the money is in there for that as well.
Nice.
So they'll get done at the same time, basically?
Yes, it'll be one project.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, which is a good outcome.
Yeah.
TIB did that as well on Ferry Street. We had applied separately for a section of sidewalk on Ferry in front of where the old APP operation was, where the fuel tanks are, that missing sidewalk from Borseth to Highway 20. They elected to add that into that Ferry Street Overlay project as well. So we'll build both of those missing pieces of sidewalks as a part of those projects we do this summer. TIB was pretty good to us this year.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Supposed to be just a typo.
Bottom of 208.
What was it?
Mayor Wagner, I make a motion to approve issuance of the Transportation Benefit District, TBD, annual report for 2015 as required by 36.73.160.
Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Okay, motion was made by Councilman Cornegay and seconded by Councilman Johnson to approve the issuance of the TBD annual report for 2015 as required by the RCW 36.73.160. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So next on the docket is item 7, concerning the appointment of a mayor pro tem. And that is on page 212 of your packet. Aaron, did you want to introduce this? Or maybe I can.
How about if we just go to the nomination?
We could do that. I'd like to, well, let me just say, having been the mayor pro tem, it can be an unpleasant job, and I will do my best as mayor to schedule in advance to help whoever the mayor pro tem is adjust their schedule. There are times when you'll be called on at the last minute, and so just be ready for that. And at that point, I'm sure the council has talked among themselves, and I'll entertain any motions forthcoming.
I move that Brenda, I'm going to slaughter your last name,
Kinzer.
be named mayor pro tem.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion for Councilman Kinzer to be mayor pro tem, and a second by Chuck. Any discussion? Oh, I forgot to say that motion was by Judith. Seeing no discussion?
I would like to nominate Brett Sandstrom, just for...
Well, we have a motion on the table.
Oh, sorry.
You have to vote on that
Sorry.
one first.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Fine.
Okay, it's unanimous. Congratulations, Brenda.
Thank you.
I'll try to work with you on the schedule. Really, I will.
You too.
Next up, item 8, council organizational matters, page 213 in your packet. Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got 4 items for you on the organizational matters. The first is the mayor's draft list of committee assignments, which you can find on page 214. If there are no issues with that, it would be good to have a motion to essentially approve the committee assignments for 2016. I know we've got a few issues that we're ready to start scheduling for some committee work.
I already got a bit of pushback. I don't know. Was that...
Yeah.
We can pull that and shift things around if you like. I mean, it is a draft. I just tried to get everybody on at least 2 and sometimes 3 of the committees and to chair one.
So, do you want...
Is there something you need to change for your schedule or things of events or conflicts?
Oh, no, it's just that I've been on the... I don't mind public safety, but I've been on planning and the personnel, the finance and personnel for already one, so I kind of wanted to switch it up. Those 2, but I do enjoy public safety still. That's it.
Okay, we could table that section for now and redo it. It's a draft anyway. Is that fine with everybody?
Sure.
Table that portion?
Please.
Fine.
All right. Well, the next item includes the council's most recent mission, vision, and goals. really provided more for your information. I think it ties into item 3, which is the retreat. That may be something you wish to revisit at that time, but if you do have any desire to make changes or updates to the mission, vision, and goals, you could do that now or really at any time. Item 3 is the follow-up to our conversation at last week's work session regarding a retreat. I've asked what your availability is for the week of March 14th. So that's the third week of March, and we're really looking to block out pretty much all day. We may only spend 4, 5, 6 hours, but by the time you get it all set up and go, it'd be good to have a full day blocked out of your work schedules to do that.
Which day is the 14th?
I just threw out a week out there to see what might fit, so I'm hoping we can compare schedules and actually pick a day tonight, or if not tonight, then maybe next time.
About Monday the 14th.
Does that work? Does Monday the 14th work for everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, works for my schedule.
Rick?
Yeah.
What
time?
Well, it'd be, we probably wouldn't start super early, but we haven't decided the time yet. So we have to first identify the venue so we can address any travel if there is any and all that. So, I would block out all day. Is there a start time that's easier than another start time?
Wait, what day is that?
Monday.
Of March?
Monday, March 14th.
Oh, okay. I was looking at February.
Here. You got a calendar on there?
That'll work for me as long as I don't forget my wife's birthday, which is the day before. Then I might be missing. I've been known to make that mistake.
Well, afternoon would be better than anything, but...
Yeah, so is there a time in the morning, though, that's worse than other times?
Not 9 o'clock.
Excuse me.
Monday.
On Sunday, the 13th, daylight savings time resumes. So there is the issue of recovery.
Springing forward. So don't start at 8 a.m.?
No.
And you don't want to start before 9, is that right? All right. So it would figure out maybe 10 to 4 or something like that?
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get rolling on getting that scheduled. And the last item on this is just the city calendar. So that shows your city council meetings for the year. Mayor Anderson started a practice here a couple of years ago of canceling work sessions during the summer months. That is continued on this calendar. If you don't desire to do that, now would be a good time to say so. We need to publish them if we're going to keep them as regular meetings. Otherwise, they'd be special meetings. And right now, the draft calendar does not include work sessions in June, July, or August.
Seems like wise policy to me.
Okay, good.
Very good. So we're down to committee reports.
As we haven't met.
Pardon?
As we haven't met.
Chief, introduction.
All right. In front of you, this came up at the last minute. Put on your desk there. There's 2 documents. One of them's kind of an introduction to the police department and who all the people are. On the roster there, showing the names of the officers. I put 2 cell phone numbers on there, myself and Sergeant Harris. Sergeant Harris is working as my number 2 on day shift. So during the day, if you're in town and you see, something going on that you'd like the police department to address, certainly give either one of us a call. Unless it's an emergency, then dial our dispatch center, 911. But keep those phone numbers. Those are our work phone numbers. Free to call us whenever you need us. If there's a big issue going on in town and you're getting calls from your constituents, feel free to call us as well. We may be able to answer it, but we'll be glad to answer anything we can for you. And the rest of that just lays out who's in the department and what they're doing, and got a couple of kind of our basic philosophy we've laid out on how we're dealing with bad guys. We actually gave an R to a guy today who we ran out of town, and he'll probably end up in prison after a foot chase by Officer Wilson. So we're practicing practicing what we preach here. We are re-incarcerating one of the bad guys. So the other document there is several pages, and it kind of gives a face to each one of us, and the mayor asked for, who we are and who our spouses are, just in case he runs into somebody out on the street, like to know who they are. So I included pictures and just a little idea of who everybody is and where they came from. We've got several military veterans, and we've got people from all walks of life. A lot of people who worked in retail and done different things. So just a little tidbit for you guys to know who we are. On just a few points of late, since the last meeting, we had just a boisterous New Year's Eve fight downtown. I lost an officer for a week who sprained both of his wrists in a fight. We introduced the pepper ball gun to the downtown area. Fortunately, everybody gave up before they got hit with pepper balls. The pepper balls is basically a paintball gun that fires little balls of pepper spray. So it was kind of a rowdy New Year's Eve, but it's kind of given us a little more ammunition to have a long chat with the bar owners and some over-service issues. So we're going to work on that approach.
Yes.
We just we got fully staffed, but we're plagued with injuries. We lost Hannah Walt for a sprained wrist on New Year's Eve. We've got Chris Rogers, who just had surgery on his hand after a fight over an ice cream cake out at Dairy Queen here late last year. He won that fight, but it's 12 weeks of recovery on his surgery for his injured hand. Thanks. The Eatons, I got Paul Eaton, one of my detectives. He's out for a month on baby leave. Him and his wife had a brand new baby girl last week. Clara Avery Eaton came to the world on January 8th. Healthy and happy baby girl. And Tom Lazaron retired as of the 30th of December. He's Joanne's house husband now. Joanne works over in City Hall, and so he's staying home and taking care of the house. We've taken delivery of our 2 new SUVs. You'll see 2 more of our SUVs out on the street. We got those early in 2016. They're 2016 vehicles. They are in the shop, and one of them I think's on the street, and the other one's in the shop getting all the wiring and electronics and stuff done. With all the active shooter stuff and talk about that in the news right now, I've done several training, prep work scenarios up at the Northern State Grounds, and we're preparing to go through the same process with the school districts. Going to an active shooter training class tomorrow over at Mount Vernon Police Department, put on the Department of Emergency Management. We're going to get a little more intel, and we're going to start building an active shooter, active threat response program for all of the schools in the district. We'll probably be going even as far as Big Lake and working with the sheriff's office to work out details on how we would respond to an incident out there. We're doing a little bit of moving around and just some real painting and patching holes and doing a little remodeling in the police department to accommodate new positions and getting all of our people places to work. Our detectives each have an office, and each sergeant has an office. Even our missing sergeant, who's in the Coast Guard right now, he'll have his office when he gets back. But we're kind of cramming the rest of patrol into one small room. We're kind of making everything so it's easier to accommodate. So we're doing a little bit of work in there. It's not costing much of anything money-wise, and the city crews are doing some of this work as they can over the winter when the weather's bad. And some of you, the last thing I have is, some of you may have heard we had a robbery in town last night. We had an armed robbery at Walgreens. The subject came in, brandished a gun, and demanded money, and got a small amount of money and took off running. We're doing Detective Sorsdal's working on that right now, and we're hoping for some success on that. We're looking at video from other places and doing a lot of stuff, so that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you, Chief. Dean?
He's always a hard act to follow. But on your desk there, I put just a quick snapshot summary of the year end. What I failed to add into there was we had 29 total transports for the year. For that, well, I guess it'd be the last 6 months. Since the first of the year, we've only done a couple. So far this year, we're at 110 calls to date for the year. Last year at this time, we were at 70. So we've got quite an increase. We're not sure what to attribute that to. It's happening around the county. I called the other chiefs this morning and asked them, and everybody is seeing this increase. Our remount ambulance will be completed tomorrow. We picked it up. It's over at the sign shop right now, getting decals put on it, and it'll be put into service Thursday. We will be keeping the blue one that you see running around. It will be staying here from the CVAA, the Central Valley Ambulance Authority. That'll be here as a backup for us in case one of ours goes down or one of theirs goes down. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, someone can come in and grab that if one of the ambulance quits. And just as always, we're testing for volunteers again this weekend. We're still trying to get that number up. We're still down 3 residents, so we're a little bit short right at the moment in the residence quarters. So that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. John?
Well, with the change in the City Council, there's also been a change in the Planning Commission, as you know. We got 2 brand new Planning Commission members. Planning Commission is going to continue its work on the comprehensive plan update, which is due to be completed by the end of June, on June 30th. So I put together a work plan. The Planning Commission's working on finishing up the land use element after they spent many months working on a proposed recommendation for an urban growth area expansion to accommodate our 20-year projected growth. So in February or March, then the Planning Commission will take a look at all of the sections of the comp plan besides the transportation element, and have in February or March have a public hearing on all of those elements. They've mostly all been looked at over the past several years, so we don't anticipate significant changes to be necessary. But we'll be having a public hearing on it. And then in April, we'll be having a public hearing on the transportation element, which we're waiting for our transportation consultant to finalize and get to us. And then Planning Commission hearing in May on that. And then hopefully the entire, or that would be in April, I'm sorry. Hopefully all of the comp plan will come to the City Council for their review and hopefully adoption in May, so we can have it done before that June deadline. So it's been mostly all comp plan in the planning office lately.
Okay, thank you, John. Silas, could you please stand up? So, Brett sort of stole my thunder, but...
I thought it was just consent calendar.
Silas Maddox is one of our 2. Joe Fatizzi is a wrestling referee, so he's out refereeing someplace and couldn't be here tonight, and he sent his regrets. But I met Silas when he evicted me from the property across the street a few years ago, and he's a new face, kind of with a new perspective, and he's done great work across the street. It really looks nice since they moved in. I was impressed, and he was interested in the position, and I'm glad that you stepped forward, and welcome, and thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as I mentioned before, with your approval of the TIB agreements on the consent calendar and some of the other agreements that were related to that, the Jameson project is moving full speed ahead. I do expect to get the 100% plans and specifications this week yet, and we are working on the last. We have one of the right-of-way donations finalized. The other one is in process. We're hoping to see Mr. Hamilton in town in the next week or so to complete that one. Then we'll be ready to request the federal funds obligation. Those things have to be completed prior to that. So we're hoping to go to ad end of January, early February. That's our target right now, and begin construction May, June. So that's moving ahead fine. David Lee is designing the Cascade Trail West extension from SR9 to Hodgen Road. That's coming along well. He expects to have that out to bid in May. That's working well. You approved one of the subconsultant agreements tonight that will support the work he's doing on that for the surveying. For the environmental surveying will follow. The Fruitdale Arterial Project, you have approved the contract for Lochner to design that project, and we'll be authorizing them to go forward with that beginning tomorrow. And our target date on that is to have the design at 100% level by the end of July, so that we'll be in line to apply for another TIB grant for that construction project, and if all goes well, we'll build that one in 2017. For the new council members, that will basically rebuild Fruitdale where it's currently closed, north of the Northern States approach, and it'll improve the sections that are basically two-lane shoulder sections to urban standards with sidewalks and curbs up to the end of Wildflower, and then just repair it from there out to the city limits. Skagit County is going to be looking at doing a parallel job to add some improvements on their section out to Calic Road, and then from Calic over to SR9. Hopefully that'll happen in lockstep with the city's project. And finally, the other TIB application or other TIB grant that was approved tonight was our Ferry Street overlay project that comes from Highway 20 in towards Metcalf, overlays that, and as I mentioned, adds a piece of missing sidewalk, which we've been trying to get done for quite a few years. So anyway, you're going to see quite a few changes this summer, and stay tuned. We'll keep you informed as they go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody have any questions?
Well, just what kind of overlays going on, Ferry? Coming new here, I'm not sure what's...
Yeah, it'll be 2 inches of asphalt, basically. We'll go in on the curb lines and use a grinding machine and grind it down about 1.5 inches, and then we'll overlay basically all the way over the center line. Add new striping, crossings.
All the bicyclists in the city, thank you.
Okay.
And walkers with the sidewalks.
Aaron?
I've got a few items for you. First, I've got the late material item on your dais. This is regarding Northern State. We, the city, are party to an agreement with Skagit County and the Port of Skagit that we've amended, I think, at least twice. This is what's called the second supplemental amended interlocal agreement. The short story is the last agreement, which was approved by this council back in October, committed the three parties to $60,000 each in funding for the Fruitdale design. It anticipated another $120,000 coming from the private developer at the time of design. That's not going to happen, so the second supplemental amended agreement increases the commitment of the three partners to $100,000, but then requires the port as the property owner, lessor, to recover the $120,000 and return it to the three entities within 5 years. And in Sedro-Woolley's case, to make the math work, we're actually committing to more than $100,000. I think it's about $119,000 plus about $15,000 in in-kind work. So we're increasing our contribution, but that's what gets the math to work for the agreement that you approved, I think is item P on the consent calendar. So I'm looking for action on this tonight. We'd like to get this signed. I believe the Port Commission took action on it yesterday, and once you're done, then we can move it over to the County Commissioners for action, hopefully next week. And then Mark can start spending this $300,000, I think it's about $320,000 total in design costs for this project.
Is there a reason why that the I don't guess tenant isn't or didn't want to or can't?
Yeah, they don't have a lease agreement yet.
Oh, okay.
And so I think conceptually the idea is well, let's wait till we're actually there. before we start writing checks, or more checks. I mean, don't forget, they did come to the initial design process with $100,000. That's basically just a donation. So, yeah, no, I think it's a reasonable perspective that they have, which is, well, let's figure out what we're actually going to lease and what we're going to do, and then let's talk about how we're going to be part of that. Now, we don't want to wait for that. Because there's momentum up at Northern State. You know, the port is now the lessor of about 120 acres, and they're working with the legislature in this session hand in hand with DES to get DES authority to actually transfer the property to the port. So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts up there, and we haven't even talked about the fishing pond. So, you know.
What's the process for that to be completed?
Which that?
The Department of Enterprise Services to give it to the port. Yeah.
Well, the legislature will have to give DES authority, and I suspect that they will also define what must be accomplished for that authority to happen. So I think we're anticipating that they'll have certain metrics that would be met regarding job creation or investment on the campus or those sorts of things. I don't know. We are fortunate to have Ann Sweeney in the audience, who's calls Skagit County her second home. She is Chris Liu's special assistant, who's really in charge of the Northern State project. So I don't know if, Ann, you want to add anything to the question about what do we anticipate the request from DES to the legislature will be, or not?
Sure.
You can approach the mic, Ann. And it is steak night at the bullpen, I would remind you.
So I appreciate that invitation. Good evening, I'm Ann Sweeney, as Aaron said, Special Assistant to the Director at the Department of Enterprise Services for Washington State. We are asking the legislature this session, actually the port, with support from Department of Enterprise Services, to grant authority to the Director of the Department of Enterprise Services to be able to transfer the property to the port. Not that the transfer would happen this session, but that we would have the authority so that we can continue to move forward to work on the exact terms of what the transfer would be. And absolutely, as Aaron said, we expect there will be metrics tied to any number of factors, not the least of which are those that Aaron mentioned, such that certain things have to occur before the transfer of ownership would happen. But in the meantime, you're probably all very aware, Enterprise Services in the port signed an initial lease, as Aaron said, for about 114 acres, 60 years, starting January 1, 2016. And that has some metrics tied to it also. But this is one of many steps. One step was the authority to petition for annexation to the city, which happened. Another was authority from the legislature to enter into leases up to 60 years. That happened. This is the next step in a progression of many, and the transfer itself would likely not happen for some years in the future. I'm glad to respond to any questions.
So does that mean that a tenant can't take over until that is completed, or is there...
What do you mean a tenant can't
Well, she says if the transfer doesn't take place for several more years, does that mean a tenant doesn't have the ability to move in and start building?
No, not at all. The lease, this initial lease between Enterprise Services and the port allows the port then to lease to subtenants, and that could happen as quickly as the port's able to execute a lease or leases. So there's a great amount of flexibility for the Port of Skagit to enter into those leases, and we're obviously working very closely with the port, but allowing them that flexibility. And the transfer is only contingent on certain things happening with those tenants. So a certain number of jobs each year for a number of years, certain amount of revenue, tax revenue, both locally and to the state, and a number of other factors, all of which we're talking about but don't have anything really firmed up yet. We didn't want to get too far down the path without knowing we had the legislative authority.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
So just keep in mind, and we'll need to get some right-of-way from DES.
Absolutely.
So hopefully we don't need legislative authority for that.
No.
Okay, good. And then the last thing I want to mention on Northern State update is...
Can I cut you off for just a second, Aaron?
Sorry.
And Ann, I know we've thanked you, but we really can't thank you enough, and Chris and all of DES that's helped make this happen, because it's the most exciting thing really that's happened here for decades, and couldn't have done it without you. So thanks again.
She's going to get an award.
I'm not stepping up for the applause, but I would like to commend all of you. I appreciate the applause, and I appreciate that there's an audience here. Aaron, the city directors, the chief, both fire chief and police chief, have been phenomenal in this process. You all have been tremendous, too, in your support. Many of you have toured that property and been part of this over the last many years, so it's a tribute to everybody. This community has been also quite interested and has vocalized its opinions. We very much appreciate that. We really believe that this is the best of government working together, so thank you all. And the Chief Tucker mentioned earlier working on the emergency active shooter work. I would also like publicly, I know this should have been during the public comment period, publicly thank the chief. He has just taken the lead and helped us through that on the campus, and it will make us all better if something should happen. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Ann. Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
Two other items on Northern State is one, in case you hear from folks, we're getting close to new addresses up there. So the city has readdressed everyone in the annexed area. So that's all of the entities in Northern State as well as the four homes on Fruitdale. We've also renamed Fruitdale. So at SR 20, it's now North Fruitdale, which is consistent with all of the other streets that come off of 20. So that's kind of an important perspective for us, both just for general mapping principles, but also for emergency response. There's now North Fruitdale and Fruitdale. And I think we go live March 1st with new addresses, so we've got a big stack of signs over on the other side, which we're going to deliver to Ann as soon as we get the other half of the big stack of signs. And their street names don't change. I don't think Northern State actually has anything addressed off of Fruitdale. I think it's all other names. So that's out there. And then you may have received a letter, and I think it was in your council packet or given to you recently regarding the fishing pond up at Northern State. I just wanted to let you know that the city is working with the port, with the county, with the state. We are for the pond. We want to see the fishing derby continue. And so we're trying to work collaboratively to keep that there. So far, we haven't heard anybody who doesn't want that to happen. You know, in terms of our project partners, the port, the county, and DES, we just have to navigate through the rules that surround that. So there may be more to follow on that. The city may have a role it can play to be helpful. We're working through that. I just want to mention on the library, in this case, the city library, we have a new front door, courtesy of an automobile accident. For those of you who have seen that, wow, if you haven't, it's worth taking a look. I was out there this morning with the structural engineer. We're currently working through the process of what will be required to meet current code as we repair that and how we'll get that taken care of. So I'll keep you updated on that, but we're working with the library on that. With regard to the central schedule rule partial library, I just noticed we've got Library Director Gene Williams in the audience and one of their commissioners, Chris Silvas, in the audience tonight. Mark's reminding me that I didn't actually get you to vote on the late materials before I moved down my list.
Oh.
Thanks, Mark. I would like a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the attached second supplemental amended interlocal agreement with the Port of Skagit and Skagit County regarding Northern State.
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilman Johnson and seconded by Councilman Cornegay to authorize the mayor to sign the attached second supplemental amended interlocal agreement with the Port of Skagit and Skagit County regarding Northern State. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, normally we go right to city council comments, but first I
got two more items.
Are you still going?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Quickly, the February 3rd work session, we'd like to have a photographer come in that evening, have you come in a little earlier so we can get pictures of each of the council members as well as a group photo of the council. We are in the process of revamping our city website, and one of our weaknesses is our photos are not wonderful. Are you able to come in February 3rd, like at 5 o'clock, to get both an individual and a group picture taken?
That's a long time before the meeting.
Yeah, well, we're having them come in a little earlier. I mean, we...
Look at the material the guy's got to work with.
All right, now.
You may have a gap, I recognize that, but I'm not sure that's better than kind of rushing the photographer. We're looking at having Steve Berenson do this work for us. He does a lot of work for the county.
Speaking of myself, like, it's going to need 2 hours.
I don't hear any
Is he going to need 2 hours to do that?
Well, if we can, I'll talk to him about that. Maybe we could do it at 5:30 or something like that. I'll talk to him and then we'll let you know. But it sounds like nobody's saying they can't make it. It would be really important to have everyone there. This is something I would anticipate we would do every 2 years, reflecting the changing council through election process, and begin to build that council gallery that you see in so many cities. So, all right, then Monday I was appointed as a member of the Central Valley Ambulance Authority Board. You may hear about that in the public. There seems to be a lot of action going on in that area right now. If you have any questions, just give me a call. And then finally, our next council meeting on the 27th, the mayor and 3 council members and I will be in Olympia. So Mayor Pro Tem Kinzer will be running the meeting with a skeleton crew of 4 council members in total. Just so you know, we'll keep the agenda fairly light. You can anticipate a pretty quick meeting that night. And then lastly, I would like to have an executive session to talk about the acquisition of real estate under RCW 4230-1101B for no more than 15 minutes with no action requested at the end of the meeting.
Very good. Now you're through.
I'm all done.
Okay. Normally at this time I'd call on the councilman, but first I want to welcome the new councilmen to their first real city council meeting. So Judith Dunley, Julia Johnson, and Chuck Owen, welcome. And how does it feel? Now you get to talk.
Kind of like the planning commission.
You're first, Judith.
Familiar. The only thing I'd like to mention, you were talking about being down in Olympia on the 28th in Olympia, is running great meetings using parliamentary procedure. I got an email about it in my personal email. The lady running it is very well known, and I'd really like to encourage as many as possible to go.
Yeah, the group that will be in Olympia will be going, so that'll be Julia Johnson, the mayor, Jermaine, Brett, and I will all be at that meeting.
Okay, Jermaine?
I just wanted to, first I wanted to ask about the, I don't remember what you call them, the kind of the miniature roundabouts that go, like there's the one on Township that goes towards Riverfront Park.
Traffic circle.
Traffic circle.
That's more of a traffic calming device than a roundabout.
Yeah. That one, I don't know if it has a reflector in there, but it to me seems okay. Because I hope it's really obvious at night, because it seems like it would be kind of dangerous if not, with the big locks in there.
Yeah, there's a big triangular reflector sign in that, and
there's also the turtles around the circle.
Right, yeah. We did think it was a little dark initially, and we added some additional stuff around it.
Oh, okay.
And we're keeping an eye on it, but if you actually see something that you don't feel is right about it, let us know. But I think
I haven't checked it out, I guess, since the... And another thing, I just kind of wanted to remind everybody about the Denny Enberg event at the Sedro-Woolley Community Center. I think it was this coming Saturday, right, the 23rd? And tickets are $5 for that. It starts at 5 o'clock. So, yeah, the annual. I don't know what year this is for it, but I guess they've been doing it a while. That's this coming Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dinner at 5:30, auction at 6:30, Troy Fair at 9.
Yep, till midnight. Yeah, that's it.
Huh?
The 23rd is a week from this. The week from.
It's been at the Eagles in
Okay.
the past, but it's...
So next Saturday, not this Saturday, the 23rd, whenever that is.
Okay. Brenda?
I guess, thank you, council, for the nomination and appointment. I appreciate your confidence.
Julia?
First, I want to thank Chief Tucker for the talk that he gave at the hospital. That was really good. I love the way that you integrated humor with education. It was very impactful, and we continue to talk about a lot of what you shared, so thank you again for doing that.
Stand-up routine.
That's great. And also, I want to let those who may be interested to know that on Friday the 22nd, there is a Skagit County Housing Summit that is happening at McIntyre Hall. It'll be from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m., and they will be addressing the question, is Skagit County facing a housing crisis? So, for those who might be interested.
You have to RSVP for that, right?
Right, no charge, but they would like an RSVP, yes.
Division Street, it doesn't look like it.
Rick?
Ladies, welcome. You too, Chuck. Good luck. Have fun.
Try to.
We'll get her done.
Brett?
Congratulations, new mayor.
Thank you.
Council members.
Thank you. So I'm going to piggyback on Jermaine's comment that the Ingberg Foundation, it's a change of venue, so if you're used to going to the Eagles for your spaghetti dinner, it's going to be at the community center this time. It's a great cause. I've been going for years, and it helps our youth in sports programs and lots of other things. It's always a great time. The band's fantastic. The auction items are great. So I'd encourage you all to go. And I will entertain a motion to, oh wait, no, sorry. At this time, 7:53, we will go into executive. And what's the RCW under?
4230110-1B.
What Aaron said.
Acquisition of
real estate. And there's no action expected. So we'll go in for 15. And you may wait around if you like, but it will just be a journey afterwards.
I'm just going to adjourn after, so.
Yeah, I'll come down. I'm not going to eat dinner because it's went already planned dinner, so I won't eat, but I'll just have.
Were you there?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a big...
Well, that wasn't so bad.
I could read things, right?
Technical issues.
Well, he kept there on purpose.
So we're back out of executive at 8:10, and there's no action, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
We're done. This is way
Yeah, it was also snappy.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, sorry.
Where did I get him a big giant one?
Like a gong.
Well, cooperation are we going to get from all the entities when they start doing
How do I change my,
up around the corner with the slide and all that shit?
I do want to do Parks and Rec, especially if we're going to be dealing with the park.
According to with this,
That
that
could
they're
be in my
supposed to be
ward.
cooperating.
Yeah, they're supposed to be playing nicely with us.
But we shall see.
I think they dragged me and blank stuff. Do that, but I don't know if that's for training or for the testing.
I have a story about getting down to Olympia.
I went down 69 Hertz.
I worked with a nonprofit. We had to get 15
I was out of voice by the time I finished talking to you all.
Had you already been to the high school stuff?
Yeah.
You had?
I see.
Okay.
You guys were meeting 3 that morning.
And then it started snowing.
So I had like 40 minutes at the high school.
And then I dropped them off. I got on my cell phone, called the office, knowing
and then
that
I
I
had
would
a
be there
staff meeting
anymore,
here.
and
So we have a
said,
city staff
thank
meeting.
Jamie, I am now
Tuesday
coming
mornings
down
before
with the
the city
flu.
council. So
I will
I
not
only
see you
had to
tomorrow.
talk for 5 minutes there. But then I was talking to a bunch of ninth graders. I usually have to talk a little louder in class to talk over a little chit-chat back. And then, talking about home, and it's like...
The women really had him going. I mean, they had a ton of questions.
Oh, yeah, they always do.
Yeah.
And it never fails. I get one of those questions like, if I